Good morning, everyone. So let's start with our today's lecture. Okay, good morning, everyone, once again. And we will start with our today's lecture. Still, many of the students have not joined. We will start for now and let they join afterwards. Okay, so we have almost coming to the end of the second unit, that is working with private cloud. So here in this particular unit, we have seen the definition for the private clouds, then the characteristics of private cloud like scalable, accessible, elastic, shared, and metered consumption. Then we have gone through the cloud stack, which is the open source infrastructure as a service platform, IaaS, and how the storage, networking, and IAM services related to the cloud stack are working. That part we have seen. Then after we came to the OpenStack, which is also a free open standard cloud computing platform, which is mostly deployed as, again, the infrastructure as a service, IaaS, in both public and private clouds, where the virtual servers and other resources are made available to the users. So the structure of OpenStack, the architecture and other details we have seen in our last lecture. So the components of OpenStack like computing, storage, networking, and management. So its details we have seen. So computing, please mute your mic, everyone. Okay, thank you. So fine. So the components like as shown in this particular figure, this particular figure I included in the slide afterwards actually. So the dashboard, which is also called as the horizon, then compute, which is also called as a nova, storage, cinder, networking, quantum, image services, that is glance, object store, that is swift, and identity services, that is nothing but the keystone. So that part in detail we have seen last time. Setting का हलता है सारा. Okay. So here is the architecture for the OpenStack. So here is the dashboard, compute, image, object storage, network, block storage, and the identity. So the detailed services provided by each of them we have seen in the last lecture. So identity services, why they are used to authenticate a particular user with maybe it's a username, password, etc. Dashboard will give you or provide you the UI, user interface, through which the user can communicate, or the user can interact with different devices present in your cloud, OpenStack. Then the networking services, which will provide the connectivity, network connectivity for, say, for example, compute, image, etc. Block storage is providing you the volumes, how much data you are going to store. Then again, compute, which will store the data. Then images, storing for images, and etc. So computing, in that the Nova is there, which is compute component, which will be useful for managing the virtual machines. It is used for controlling the hypervisor, monitor the virtual machines instances. So that's why the Nova is used. Then comes the Glance, which will be used for storing the images, image store. The virtual machine images are its babies. So manage the images and their hierarchy, they are used. Then storage for storage purpose, Swift is used. Swift is used for storing the objects. Then abstract out the nitty-gritty of the storage subsystem. Then comes the block storage, called as a Cinder. So it exports the storage as a volume, which is a set of blocks. It will manage the volumes available and mapping to the virtual machines. Then it will be giving you the features like snapshots, how you are maintaining the snapshot. Like that, the block storage will be working, and work going on for replication, enhanced snapshots. So why we need maintaining the replicas of your data? So suppose, for example, because of some problem, if your one particular system or one particular server gets crashed, then at that time the image of each and every user, means image like whatever the data that is there with that user, that should be stored properly on the system. So at that time we can use this kind of a replication of the data. Then again, OpenStack networking. So here Neuron or Neutron you can use, which is used to manage the network namespace. Then manage the interconnects. That means the connectivity present between the two or more devices. So for that purpose, you can use it. Also, it manages the bindings and floating IPs. Bindings and the floating IPs. Okay. So whenever, suppose for runtime, any new connections gets established or some user has disconnected from the network, so to maintain all their connectivity, maintain the images of all of them, providing the data and all the network related services, that will be the task of your OpenStack networking, that is Neutron or Neuron we can say. Then OpenStack management. So management is done through the dashboard, as in the architecture part we have seen. So which is that particular dashboard is also known as the horizon, which will be providing the API or interface, user interface or API, so that each and every block, each and every part of your cloud, OpenStack will be get available through you, through this horizon. Then we came to the different benefits of OpenStack, that is it is open source, then the scalability, security provided by OpenStack, automation, easy to access and manage, the services provided, strong community, and the compatibility. So these are some of the advantages of OpenStack. Then, okay, so so this much part we have seen in our last lecture. Actually, as per the syllabus, the first slide, our next bit is designing elastic and highly available and resilient infrastructure using OpenStack and CloudStack for varied application scenarios. Okay, so depending on the application, I'm searching for how means how to deploy and how, means what type of applications we can do for our practical purpose. I'm in the that particular study. So whenever I will get that particular proper scenario for completing this particular bit, I will come to you. And then the next bit is financial and technological implications of running an application on a private cloud. Okay, so financial and technological implications are there. So here in this particular bit, before going further, we will go through some of the difference between OpenStack and CloudStack, this kind of a scenario. So if we go through the difference, we can found that here, CloudStack, which is founded on or in maybe, so it will be founded so it was founded in the year of 2008, whereas the OpenStack was founded in the year of 2010. So next difference is it is written in what? So it is primarily written in Java, and after that the Python, and the OpenStack it is completely in Python language. So here it is developed by cloud platform, it is by Apache Software Foundation, whereas the OpenStack is by OpenStack Foundation and the community. Then the platform used is nothing but the Java in case of CloudStack, whereas it in case of OpenStack it is cross-platform. Then installation, yes, the installation is easy little bit in case of CloudStack. It is difficult in OpenStack. Architecture, so monolithic controller, data center model, no object storage, that kind of a architecture is there in case of cloud. But here it is fragmented to different pieces, like we are maintaining the objects, we are maintaining the images, then for networking purpose again separate block is there through which the that part is maintained. So it is absolutely fragmented to different pieces, and each and every piece is working on different tasks. So here in this case, the user interface, in case of CloudStack, it is user friendly and it is based on the jQuery and JSP. And here in case of OpenStack, it is simple and it is based on the Python Django. Then the deployment. deployment, it is easy to deploy CloudStack, and the tools like Puppet, Chip for deployment that will be used for OpenStack. Then storage. So CloudStack, it is categorized into primary and secondary. We have seen this part that how you are going to save your data on the cloud. So it is in the way like primary and secondary data, whereas in case of a OpenStack, we are storing the data by using the block storage and object storage mechanism. And finally, the community. So large community of developers with support from big organization must be there or is there in case of a CloudStack, but in case of a OpenStack, very small community of developers is being used or is being supported. Okay, so this is the difference between the two, that is the CloudStack and OpenStack. If you are having theory paper, then at that time this kind of a question may be asked. So you can go for any four to 5 or 6 differences out of all these differences. So very easy to remember all these differences here. Okay, so coming to the next bit. So financial and the last bit of the chapter is nothing but the financial and technological implications. Okay, so financial and technological implications. Oh. So for that purpose, we must be in the position to get the advantages of private and the public cloud. So why we should go for the or what are the different criteria for financial implications, means implementing your system through the financial services, how much cost you have to pay, all these points will be covered over here. So like here, the private cloud infrastructure is a dedicated infrastructure provided to one single organization or client. But in case of a public clouds, the resources are shared between the multiple clients and all the services are controlled by the service provider here. Then the controls in case of a private clouds, better control for data, users and information assets is there. And if we consider about the cost, then the initial investment for the hardware is very high in case of a open premise infrastructures, on premise infrastructure. So that means initial investment for maintaining the hardware. So why is that so? Because here initial investment, which will include all the security measures, implementing your own private cloud. So for that purpose, you need separate. Here in this case, everything will be maintained by the service provider only. So nothing is there like public or shared. So that's why the initial investment here is very high. security here in this case. So the cloud belongs to a single client here. Hence the infrastructure and system can be configured to provide high levels of security. As it is a private cloud, the service providers are definitely asked to give absolute security in this system, and accordingly configuring your system in that way, the cost will be definitely high. Then superior performance. So normally private clouds are deployed inside the firewall of the organization in intranet, which ensures the efficiency and good network performance. So mostly private cloud means, suppose if in our college we are going to maintain it or provide the private cloud here, then at that time it will be available through our college premises, our college network only, isn't it? So in our college you will be definitely getting super performance in that way. Then easy consumption, customization. So the hardware and other resources can be customized easily by the company. Customization of the hardware will be easy in case of a private cloud, but the compliances is achieved easily in private cloud. Compliance is what, suppose in case some kind of a lacuna is been found in case of your private cloud, then that will be identified and action will be provided on those parts, will be more easier and less costly in case of a private cloud. So if we come to the public clouds, then in case of a public cloud, the resources are shared between multiple clients and all the services are controlled by the service providers. Here in case of a private, you are having maybe one single organization or client, but in case of a public, you will be having multiple clients and you are providing different kinds of services to different users. So this kind of a scenario is there. Then next is it is simple and easy public cloud. So public clouds are available as a service in the internet. So they are easy to deploy. Then if we come to the cost here, the cost initial investment is a very low or negligible, nil we can say. Less time, the IT resources and services are available immediately, saving the time for the company. So the services are available in a very less time here. No maintenance, as the hardware and networks are maintained by the cloud service provider only. The internal IT staffs have no responsibility in maintaining the infrastructure here in case of a public. But in case of a private, some IT people will be responsible for maintaining the not only the infrastructure but the security and other things related to giving privacy to the data will be implemented in case of a private, but there is no such kind of a maintenance in case of a public. And then no contracts, so that means no long-term commitments with the service providers, because public clouds are usually pay as you go kind of a model. So long-term commitments like I will be using your service for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, that kind of a commitments are not provided. But here you are using like, okay, so for how much time you want the data on your cloud, okay, for 1 month, that means or 1 year. So that type of a subscription you can provide, and accordingly the services will be given to you. So no need to go for any contracts or no any long-term commitments are there in case of a public clouds. Okay. So from financial point of view, we can, if we go through it, then we can find that the private clouds and its implementation is little bit costly. And now if we go through the disadvantages of the same, then here, in case of a private cloud, the cost is definitely high. So costs are substantial in case of a building an open premise private cloud. The running cost would include the personal cost and periodic hardware upgrade costs. So definitely here the initial costs or the cost that is used for your software hardware upgradation, so that will be included here. So in the case of outsourced private cloud, operating cost will include per resource usage and subject to change at the discretion of the service provider. But in case of a public, here lacks in proper control. That means the client has no control of data or infrastructure over here. So there are issues of data privacy and integrity. The service level policies and compliances are completely enforced by the service provider only. So if you found this particular service is not been provided to me as a particular customer, then that will be provided by the service provider, but in maybe in different way, or the structure will be the different one. Here in case of a private clouds, the underutilization, that means in some instances the resources subscribed can be underutilized. Hence optimizing the utilization of resources is a challenge. Optimizing the utilization of the resources means minimum use of different resources will be the challenging task over here. Then here in the same case, the capacity selling, that is the due to physical hardware limitations with the service provider, hence could be capacity selling to handle only certain amount of servers or storage. So you are limited with specific hardware only. That means the hardware cost or the initial investment in maintaining the hardware is more in case of a private, that so that is why it will be called as a capacity selling. Then vendor lock-in, that is, this can be a major impediment in private cloud adoption, especially when the hardware and infrastructure is outsourced. So this is a service delivery technique where the client company is forced to continue with the same service provider, thus preventing the clients to migrate to another vendor. So vendor lock-in is the major impedance in this case. Then coming to the public, so here in this case, the performance of the network depends on the speed of the internet connectivity. If you are in public cloud, then definitely how much internet connectivity you are having, accordingly you will be getting the data, or processing of your data will be done. Again, it will be weak in security. That means since the hardware resources is shared between multiple users, the IT security issues are more profound and the data is vulnerable to the thefts. And finally, the customization. So customization of resources or the services is not possible. So this is the difference between private and public clouds. Then if we go to okay, just a minute, I will show you. Just give me 1 minute. Actually, I found one beautiful video, but I think I lost the link related to that. Okay.
future belongs to the fast, to those who use insights from all their data to accelerate innovation and stay ahead of what's next. HPE GreenLake is the open edge-to-cloud platform that harnesses all of your data, wherever it lives, giving you the freedom to modernize and grow your business and stay secure from edge to cloud. HPE GreenLake, the cloud that comes to you.
For industries that have challenging circumstances with connectivity, cloud computing has been out of reach. However, Industry Cloud can help to bridge that gap. ZDNet and Tech Republic are taking a closer look at this technology. James Sanders is here with us to tell us more. So James, you've written some nice pieces on this for us. And a good place to start, I think, is what exactly is Industry Cloud?
So Industry Cloud is kind of the glue that takes all of the public cloud stuff. And this is, investment from public cloud providers like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud. They're really wanting to focus a little bit more on industries that have a little more difficulty in really connecting to cloud. Mm-hmm. And that can be geographical, that can be issues with connectivity, that can also be more of a regulatory issue. Mm-hmm. And that is one thing, especially for healthcare. With HIPAA, there's always going to be, a lot of privacy concerns and a lot of documentation and reporting that has to be done. And so the extra little layer there for specialized industries like health, and that's more for patient-facing stuff than research. But for that type of industry, they need just a little bit more. And so there's not just the public cloud providers, the big three that everyone thinks of, mm-hmm. but there's also a specialized industry of companies that specialize only in this for healthcare providers and for agriculture. You're not really going to have very good Wi-Fi access out in the middle of the field.
Doubt it, yeah.
So taking all of that IoT data and then pushing it into the cloud requires a little extra work and requires solutions that other companies who have long since already moved to the cloud don't really need. So it's this extra little glue that takes all of this data that you're generating for your business, pushing it into the cloud. And that doesn't have to be public cloud. It can be hybrid, because that when you're moving to the edge and when you've got IoT stuff, a little more hybrid cloud is a much more logical model for that.
Right.
And then there's always private cloud because, why not? But that type of thing is really what Industry Cloud is. And it's just to look at, what industries have higher difficulties for adopting cloud and making a solution for them.
So I guess, James, the next logical question would be, what are the differences, or are there many differences in, say, comparing this to just standard cloud?
It really depends on what industry you're in. So there's 100 different vendors, really, that have industry cloud solutions. And that, something for healthcare is not really going to be applicable for something in financial services. So this wide variety is really helpful, but it is just a superset of, cloud vendors. Mm-hmm. So it really is just, an extra little bit of glue to make public cloud, hybrid, or private work for your industry.
All right, very good. Well, we've put together a great list of articles here to help you better understand Industry Cloud. So ZDNet and Tech Republic have been putting these together, some different original research, series of articles, and real-world examples in our special report. You can read all of the articles on ZDNet, or you can download them in one PDF on Tech Republic, available for free to registered users. Thanks for watching.
The public cloud wasn't built to handle everything, but that's okay, because now you can bring a new kind of cloud experience to all your apps and data, no matter where they live. Meet HPE GreenLake, the open and secure edge-to-cloud platform. Select the cloud services you want, choose where to deploy, and get the right expertise. Join 1,000 top organizations on the open edge-to-cloud platform and modernize your IT, experiences, and business. HPE GreenLake, the cloud that comes to you.
Google Cloud is touting itself as a tool to make companies better. ZDNet's Tiernan Ray is here with me. Tiernan, what does Google mean by this? This is a really broad statement for a company to make.
Yeah. The question is, what role does a large company like Google that does so many things well have to play in various industries like banking and healthcare and retail? And it sort of straddles the line because at some point you can be telling a company their own business. So in the interview that we did with Lori Mitchell-Keller and Lisa O'Malley, Lori Mitchell-Keller is the Vice President of Industry Solutions for Google Cloud. Which is one of the three largest cloud companies. And Lisa O'Malley is the senior product manager. So these two individuals were telling me we are not looking to take over the business of a healthcare provider or a hospital network, a retailer like Macy's. We're simply trying to provide them with some tools so that they can focus on the things that they do better. So for example, if you're at Macy's and you're designing a search engine, somebody comes to your website and they want to search for dog costumes. And what they typically have gotten from Macy's on the website was some clothes for humans that had images on them of dogs. And so what they were not able to find was a costume that you can put on your dog for Halloween. But actually Macy's has this particular item in stock. So they worked with Google, and now their online catalog actually does reflect dog costumes if you search for it. So the search experience has been improved. And so the point that is made by both Macy's and by Google is if you use their search function, ta-da, your search gets better, but we're not taking over things such as merchandising where Macy's makes the decision about what they're buying. So it's this really interesting discussion of where do the core competencies lie for a company that is in a particular industry, and then what is the part that Google does to presumably let them focus on those core competencies while taking away the drudgery, the routine work, that they might not be as good at, such as we're going to have a catalog and we're going to make it really, really accessible and really usable.
Okay, so what Google is saying is, say, I'm really good at this, this, and this, but Google is really good at this, this, and this. And so if you hire Google, you can continue to be really good at your this, this, and this. Google can be better at what they're good at, and it can make you an exceptional company overall.
That's the idea, is that they're going to let you focus more of your individual executive's ability and your staff's ability on things that are core to what that industry is. So if you're in banking, managing assets is presumably not a function yet of Google's algorithms. You still need to be having a sense of financial markets and of assets that's very particular, that can't be turned into a broad tool that can be used by many parties. However, it may be that things like client onboarding, where you bring in new clients to prime brokerage or to wealth management, is a general function that could be done much better by a tech firm. And that could be a broad industry solution, to use an overused word, for a lot of banks, a lot of financial institutions. So that seems to be the kind of division of labor that Google is imagining.
That's interesting. And when you think about it, you either trust Google or you don't trust Google with your data. And in this day and age, that is something people are concerned about. So you mentioned Macy's earlier. Say I have given Macy's my data, but I didn't consent to giving Google my data because I gave Macy's my information. Is that something I need to worry about?
Yeah, Lori Mitchell-Keller and Lisa O'Malley make the point that Google is not having its hands in the first party data, that is the data that companies collect from their customers directly. And it's an important issue because, as you point out, there are both privacy issues, there are regulatory issues, there are compliance issues. And ultimately, this data is the province of the company, such as a bank or a retailer, that is presumably going to make them much better. And so I think over time, this is a fluid area where we'll see just how much of that data ends up enabling algorithms that are broadly applicable to different companies, and how much of it remains kind of the secret sauce. If a Walmart or a retailer like Macy's has customer data that is very revealing of preferences, then that is something that ultimately has to probably remain their capability, that you shouldn't be able to extract for other companies. And so it's probably a sensitive and a contentious issue that will continue to evolve over time, just how it's supposed to be used.
Interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't have, I don't think I would have thought twice about giving my information to someone and then thinking, oh yeah, they most likely have a cloud provider. Am I comfortable with their cloud provider also having my information?
The theory is that they want all of your data for many reasons. One of it being lock-in. If you're Macy's and you give your data to Google, then ultimately you're kind of locked into Google because they have your data. So these, I mean, it's a very, very, very messy kind of topic because you could probably do a whole feature on what do these different companies, cloud companies say they're going to do and what do they actually do. So yeah, it's a pretty sensitive kind of thing.
All right, Tiernan, always a very interesting and thought-provoking story from you. We have his article linked right down below to make it super easy for you. As always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and stick with ZDNet for all things tech.
I am Heather Pasha with Palo Alto Networks. Join me in my 10-minute security video where I talk about what your board needs to know now about cybersecurity. And it's really critical to understand what are the top 5 key questions that they're asking us, and more importantly, how we should address them.
Hi, I'm Larry Dignan with ZDNet, and we're here with Alex Rinke. He is co-CEO of Celonis, a process mining company. Hi, Alex. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, how are you there?
Good.
Review of your business process, right? So we go process 360 and we show you across all these different systems, how is it working?
IBM's X-Force Cloud Security Threat Landscape Report for 2021. I'm Tanya Hall, and joining me is Nick Grossman, Global Lead for IBM Security X-Force Threat Intelligence. Welcome, Nick. What is the mission for IBM Security?
The dark web, our incident response investigations work our penetration testing teams are doing and putting that all together. I really think what we saw, Tanya, is that businesses control their own destiny on what they do on the cloud environment, right? And they control how they're going to implement security.
Hi, I'm Larry Dignan with ZDNet, and we're here with Dell's John Rose and Jeff Boudreau. Hi, folks. Thanks for joining us.
ये है दिया की मोम ऑब्सेसिव है
The Real Robot Challenge. I'm Tanya Hall, and joining me is Dr. Stefan Bauer, research.
Here in this site, you are getting different videos which are giving you the information for different kinds of financial services provided by different financial companies. Okay, so here the financial implications is the point. So financial services provided by different companies, how they are choosing a particular cloud platform, that will be a challenging task in front of these companies. So based on this particular article is being given. So when choosing a particular cloud provider, what is needed is the cloud providers will use third party data centers, because the vendor does not have total control over what can happen in the cloud. Uh, Cloud providers that are unwilling to furnish up to date security, compliance, and financial health audits, and also cloud providers that lack in financial services expertise or sensitivity that the IT and governance demands of the financial sectors require. So cloud options that may appeal to financial firms are, the first is the card and mobile payment processing. So for that purpose, some large banks process their own credit, debit, and ATM transactions, but a majority of banks and credits union will select Visa and MasterCard only, or any of the trusted third-party processor with a cooperative agreement with a Visa or MasterCard to process their card and mobile transactions. As we know, nowadays the e-banking process is in boom. So that type of a security should be there from your banks. So these cards and mobile payments processors now operate in the cloud only. The processors provide financial institutions with the specialized expertise needed in the card processing, and they back this with decades of experience in fraud detection and the security as well. Then coming to the next is marketing and customer relationship management. Definitely how you are going to market the technology that is there with you, and the relationship with your customers, that is very important. So most of the banks and the credit unions, regardless of how much size struggle is there with the marketing, their marketing staffs are comprised of persons with expertise in development of and launching the campaigns and promotions, but they falter when it comes to researching and segmenting markets so that they can target the products optimally. So if we go through CNBC, Awaaz, or some these kind of channels, you will be getting the news related to the banking sector, which is the bank which is in boom. Most of the times, what is the value with SBI, State Bank of India? Then you are having HDFC Lives. Then all these different banks and their tie-ups related information or the news you are getting day by day on different news channels also. So these institutions also have some little know-how in how to develop the finger-grained analytics that can further dissect market segment needs. So as per the needs, you have to provide the services to your users. So tailors and customer facing representatives in internet chat and phone service centers are no better. Many have little understanding of what the individual customer need or how they can help. So cloud will provide you such a service, OMI, which is providing market research and analytics that enable the financial services companies to segment their markets and target their products so they can grow their customer base basis and product penetration. Then related to the core banking, large financial institutions maintain their own core banking system, but this is not always possible for small to medium-sized banks and credit unions. So for those institutions, the best choice is to find a trusted cloud service provider that understands the financial services space and can provide a turnkey banking system that will start with the Taylor line, online banking, and electronic bill paying and extends. Then human resources and talent management. So as in-house human resources, that is your HR system age, more financial services companies are considering the cloud-based HR that will offer not only core HR software like payroll and benefits, but also emerging HR software like talent management, which enables the companies to recruit better as well as develop employees and manage the succession plans. So popular choices for the clouds in these include Oracle HCM, that is Human Capital Management, SAP, Success Factors, etc. Then IaaS, Infrastructure as a Service. So like companies in other industries, banks and credit unions are concerned about the rising costs of running data centers. So some are opting to move their application development and testing to cloud-based infrastructure as a service provider so they can avoid costly hardware and software upgrades. So once applications are tested, they are moved back into the production environment in banks' own data center. So in other cases, banks and credit unions use the cloud services to offload risk management processing of large portfolios. So these are some of the what we can say that financial implications. That means how the services by are being controlled or are being given from your cloud sectors or maybe the cloud private cloud or any other. So those financial and technological implications, so we have to gather the information and that we need to represent. Out of this particular chapter, you may be getting the question that is maybe for MCQs. I will search different MCQs from different resources. In case so in your question papers, very less number of MCQs are there on based on this particular unit, but I will try to find from other resources also the MCQs based on this unit. And for if you are having the theory paper, definitely I told you the questions like what is private cloud, give its a definition, what are the different characteristics of private cloud. Then very less question could be there on CloudStack, but definitely on OpenStack you are definitely having the question that explain the architecture with the compute, storage and networking and IAM services. That is the question for OpenStack. And for rest of the bits like elastic and highly available, so on that point I don't think any question can be asked. So these are some of the questions from this unit. So here we are ending with our second unit. In some time I will share you the assignment questions based on this unit, and definitely I will share the this particular presentation with you. I think as per the new timetable, we are having next lecture tomorrow as well. So complete your assignment now. Yes, tomorrow second lecture is there, 10:30 to 11:30. So in that slot, I will send you the class test based on this particular unit, which will be of type MCQ only. So, and now only I will share the assignment questions with you. Okay. So I think that's all from my side. Now we will stop here. Soon I will share the assignment questions. And now you can put your attendance in the chat. And after putting the attendance, you can leave. Soon I will share the questions with you on our college group only. And remember, tomorrow we will be having a test based on this unit. Okay. That's all for now. Thank you very much. Vaishnavi Puri, Anuradha Dope, Kajal Kharade, and Ahilya Dange. Put your attendance and then you can leave so that I can stop the recording and leave the session. A7 and A42.
Yes. Hello.
हाँ अनुराधा. Yes Anuradha.
Ma'am, B3.
B3. You already have given the attendance. No need to. A742.